Hey guys, it's Mahoney coming at you with another Tuesday tip. This time I thought I would talk about something a little bit more historical. We're going to talk about the Electoral College tonight and how that came to be. I was a history and philosophy double major with a political science minor in college, and then focused on constitutional law when I was in law school. So I really like this stuff, and I've really been interested in it my whole scholastic career. And told you I'd start talking about some constitutional things. So the Electoral College, how did that come to be? Well, we gained our independence. We had 13 colonies. And then everybody's trying to figure out how are we going to structure our government. We've got the English government to look at. And there was some things about that worked out pretty good. There was some things that we knew we wanted to change. So the first thing that we started out with was this idea called the Articles of Confederation. And it was really a set of laws. And so one of the things to think about when somebody talks about that the Constitution is a set of laws, it's not, because we tried that. We tried the Articles of Confederation. It was a set of laws. It didn't even get ratified by over half of the states before it clearly wasn't going to work. And so then we decided to create this Constitution, a Constitution which is a set of guiding principles. A Constitution does two things. It sets the structure of government, and it sets up the relationship of that government to the people. While as we were setting up the structure of government, there was this big fight between the big states and the little states. The big states were New York and Virginia, and the little states were basically everybody else. And the little states were complaining, saying, we're not going to ratify this Constitution because everything's going to be decided by the big states. And there already was this fight between the North and the South, where Virginia didn't want New York to make all the decisions based upon money. Well, how'd that work out? And the North really kind of didn't care what the South thought or did. They just wanted them to help pay for the debt of the war, really. That's what they were interested in. So as they were setting up the structure of government, nobody was going to approve a structure of Congress which only decided everything based upon population, because then New York and Virginia would decide everything. So Madison came up with this idea of the Great Compromise, and it incorporated a lot of ideas. The Supreme Court justices being nominated for life. But the main thing that it did is it set up so that there would be two houses in Congress, one elected based upon population and one elected where you had two representatives from every state, no matter what the size of the state was. And that any bill had to be ratified by both sides. And the idea being that Congress was going to be representative of population, but the Senate, everybody was going to have to compromise because you had two senators from every state. So even the small states like Rhode Island were going to have the same power as the big states like New York. Well, while they were coming up with that was when they came up with the idea of the Electoral College. And it was the same thing. So like right now, under the Electoral College, if you're voting in Wyoming, there's an Electoral College vote for every 200,000 voters. Whereas in California, there's an Electoral College vote for every 600,000 voters. And the whole concept there was to bring everybody to the middle, to bring everybody together and to force everybody to compromise. The same concept as the Senate. We can go ahead and pass something in the House. If the majority of the people, the big states all decide we want to do X, Y, and Z, and they can get it passed in the House, that's great. But you're going to still have to get it passed in the Senate, which means that the minority interests in the country are going to have to be represented in some fashion. So the Electoral College was designed to create the same type of system. So, like when Bill Clinton was elected and didn't have a majority of the votes in the United States, then the Republicans were saying, well, we ought to get rid of the Electoral College. When Donald Trump gets elected, he doesn't have a majority of the votes. He loses the popular vote by 3 million votes, but he wins the Electoral College. So the Democrats are saying, well, we should get rid of the Electoral College. Well, I'm never a big fan of getting rid of anything that the Founding Fathers decided, because so far, for the past 200 plus years, it's all worked out pretty good. And we've actually been able to manage as a country pretty darn well using these guiding principles of the Constitution. But that's really what the Electoral College was designed to be. It came out of the Great Compromise. It was designed so that we had to come to the middle, so that we had to compromise. That's the idea of the Great Compromise. And the Electoral College was designed to make it so that the majority had to deal with the minority in the country in terms of their vantage point, and that everybody that was going to get elected was going to kind of come to the middle. Might not be a bad idea for us to remember that as we head forward. Seems to be something that we've kind of lost our way with a little bit. Hope you enjoyed your little bit of a history lesson on Tuesday Tip. Please put any questions or comments. I love to get them and to answer them. There's a lot of good information that gets thrown up here. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next Tuesday.